All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is July 29th. Today is July 29th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Hey, let's go take a look at some charts. Let's take a look at how I made 160K today on a 900K account. Let's take a peek at everything that's going on. All right. So let's start with the oddballs. All right, so here's my P&L for the day. Okay, you can see I made made 10K on some some QQQ calls right there. Made 10K on that. Made 695 on some Broadcom or AVGO calls. Made on some TSM calls. Made some $142 on some TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor calls right there, okay? And you can see I made a bunch more on those right there, on those other calls, all right? So we'll start off with QQQ, then we'll hit Taiwan Semiconductor, and then AVGO, okay? So let's see if I can get this to push over here, back where it was, and scoot it down. All right, let's start with QQQ. All right, so we traded this product right here, which was August 1st, 580 calls. And I sold some off. I had some from yesterday, sold them off into the rally. And then I had some short, and I just covered this short right there. Okay, so that's how we traded those. Those are 3 days till expiration, 580 calls right there from QQQ. I was holding those from yesterday and then sold those off into the rally early this morning up here. Okay, see the QQQ rally way up there? Sold off into strength. Okay, selling into strength. Okay, next product was AVGO. All right, AVGO had some of those calls and again sold off into strength up here at the beginning of the day. The next one was some looks like some Taiwan Semiconductors. Okay, so again sold off in the morning. Okay, into strength right up here, right up into strength up there. Had some more orders farmed out to trigger, but the price never got high enough for me to trigger up there. So there's Taiwan Semiconductors, again, selling into strength right there. Okay, so I had some SPY calls. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so I had some SPY calls, some 650 SPY calls. Still holding some. All right, it says I lost 3K, actually 6K. On those calls. So in my eyes, I didn't lose because you can see I purchased 3,000 down here at 9 cents per share. Okay, and then I purchased some at right here at 12 cents per share, some more at 12 cents per share, and then some more here at 11 cents per share, and I sold those up here at 13 cents per share. Okay, so even though it was below my cost basis, I made money, okay, on them because I bought some low and I sold what I bought low. I sold it up here high. It just happened to be underneath my cost basis. And I'm okay with that, all right? Don't always have to sell all over my cost basis. Hey, that's the preferable place to sell, all right? But if I can't sell over my cost basis, and I have an opportunity to bring my cost basis down by doubling down or averaging down here by buying some low, all right, and I can see price is probably going to rip, all right, into those highs. So, and then I take this, maybe I've got a 3-minute uptrend in there or a 5-minute uptrend that I can trade, and I can sell off a portion of what I bought low up for more than what I purchased it for, okay? So you can see I purchased them for 9 cents a share, and I farmed them out for 13 cents a share, okay? When you do that with a lot of shares, you can gain a lot of profits, or you can start to move your cost basis down. Okay, so there's SPY, and that's a 10-minute chart of those 650 calls that expire in 3 days. All right, so that was those. Let's try these. Got some, made $58 on these 636 calls. Okay, 636 calls that expire in 1 day. Okay, I'm actually I started legging into these for tomorrow. See if I can move this up just a little bit. Okay, so I started legging into these for tomorrow. All right, I was building a position for tomorrow, thinking that price would come down into one of these two anchored VWAPs and then reverse. So I wanted to build up a position for the bounce right there. And in the process of building the position, well, opportunity came where price was up and I took some profit. So I made $58 on those, okay? Got some 0 DTE, 637 calls, all right? Made 6,500 on those. Again, just buying the dips and selling the peaks, all right, on this SPY as price consolidated and moved over to the right, okay? Those were calls, 637 strike calls, 0 days till expiration, just buying the lows and selling the highs of these candles. Same thing here, got some 640 days till expiration, 0 DTE calls, again, buying the lows and selling the peaks of the price action here as it consolidated right on top of this 635 area that was support. Okay, got some more. Got some 639 calls, made 30 about 30K on those. Again, buying the dips and selling the peaks on this consolidation that ran through there. 34K, okay, on some puts, all right, and the puts that I bought were right here. Observing the head and shoulders pattern, all right, I'll drop it down so you can see it. Okay, so we have a little mini head and shoulders pattern on the 10-minute. Okay, you have a 10-minute left shoulder over here, a right shoulder, and there's your head right there, and there's price breaking through the neckline right there for a stab down into the lower side. Okay, so on the bearish head and shoulders pattern, as price dipped, of course, the value of the put option rose, so I sold them off up here and made 34K on those puts, and that was a 10-minute downtrend. As you can see, under VWAP traded that in the head and bearish head and shoulders pattern right there. Last one, 67K on some 638 calls, all right, that expired today. Okay, again, looking for price to bounce. Okay, so you notice like after the big candle or in this big candle as price dropped into this support area, I started accumulating shares at the lows of the candles on the option and then selling off on the peaks. All right, so I made 67K on those. Okay, that's how I did it for today. All right, just buying the lows and selling the peaks. Okay, so what did we have? We had a 10-minute downtrend underneath VWAP right through here. Okay, notice the 10-minute downtrend underneath VWAP. Okay, price rolls over under VWAP. See how price closed this first 10-minute candle up there, but the very next candle erased everything on the 10-minute chart. And then as you can see, every single candle here had a little bit of wick on it. Okay, so They go up and they touch VWAP, and then they get, it was almost like they got burned every time they touched VWAP, and then they'd retrace and burn, go up and get burned, and then retrace, and then go up, get burned. So you can see here's price action. Every time it touched VWAP, it kind of got burned, and then you can see price comes down into a possible exhaustion candle right through here. Okay, possible exhaustion candle. And then you notice price could not make it back to VWAP. All right, not once, but twice. Failed to make it back to VWAP and get on top of VWAP, or at least touch VWAP. All right, showing you that bears were in control. All right, not to mention the 10-minute downtrend underneath VWAP. And then we had another 10-minute downtrend under VWAP right through here, right into the closing time. And you notice after 60 minutes, all right, have passed on the 10-minute chart, and they're not leaving this area. In other words, they're not bouncing out of here, okay? They're just kind of still keep coming back to this area and banging on the door right here to get lower, all right? That's a kind of a clue. If after six 10-minute candles, they're not leaving this area or getting lower, and they're just moving over to the right, okay, that means it's probably going to consolidate, and later on it's going to break down. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. Okay, SPY 10-minute downtrend underneath VWAP right there. Okay, there's SPY. Let's take a look at the chart on the close. We got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close on the 2-hour chart. All right, we have a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close on the daily chart. All right, we still have a daily uptrend. Again, the 3 EMA is up on top of the white 8 EMA right here. See that? 3 EMA, so we still have a daily uptrend. And if you notice, SPY put in, guess what? Another new all-time high today, okay? Even though it totally wiped out the price action, another new all-time high up there for SPY. All right, on the weekly chart for SPY, still in an uptrend. Notice the green dots. Price up over the 3 EMA on the weekly chart. On the monthly chart, again, price up over the 3 EMA on the monthly chart coming into the end of the month here. All right, nice strong close. Price action up over the 17 EMA and up over the 3 EMA. Okay, so what's my favorite pattern? I like the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, all right, when it's inside of a 2-hour uptrend, that's inside of a daily uptrend, inside of a weekly uptrend, inside of a monthly uptrend, okay? I get all the forces of all the different time frames pushing the price of my product up higher, okay? That's what I like. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, all right, inside the 2-hour, that's inside the daily, inside the weekly, inside the monthly. Okay, that's what I like. Today was kind of a counter trend day, but it was a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, which was, for me, it fits my trading plan. So I traded the 10-minute downtrend under VWAP right there. So there's SPY. All right. And, of course, you can see made a new all-time high on SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ gapped up, and the bears filled the gap. Same with SPY. Okay, but QQQ, new all-time high for QQQ. Notice the price action way up here. Okay, QQQ gaps up, and you can see price action makes a new all-time high. Look at it on the daily chart. Okay, you can see right there. Let's take these off. Don't need those anymore. Okay, new all-time high for QQQ. Okay, and in an uptrend. Same with SPY. In an uptrend, and making a new all-time high. Let's take a look at FNGU. All right, FNGU makes a new all-time high. All right, and you can see closing just over the bullish trap, over the rising 17. That's bullish up there. Okay, new all-time high. Can't say anything better about it. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than new all-time high. All right, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow on the daily chart puts in a lower high and a lower low. All right, closing underneath the bullish trap, but over the rising 17. If we look at that with the quad lines, that's up there at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, we got uptrend here. We got higher lows, couple of higher lows. Got some lows here. You can see we got some higher lows that poke through the 17. Some higher lows right here. And then we got some highs. And we got some higher highs, okay? So that's an uptrend. It's up in the upper third or up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. And it's up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM today, outside day, higher high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. Again, you can see price action moves up and holds that higher ground, okay? That's like planking for 6 hours, okay? Price action's moving up, all right? And it's held, goes up, and it holds the higher ground. That's bullish up there, IWM, okay? Holding that higher ground. See all the green dots? Okay, so we got some higher lows. See, here's a low. Got some higher lows, and of course here's a couple of highs, and we got a couple of higher highs up there. Again, holding the higher ground is a bullish environment. That is a bullish characteristic. That is a bullish behavior. Okay, that's what we like. Okay, what we don't like is when price goes up and gives it up. Okay, that's just neutral. Okay, see, you go up and then you give it up, that's just neutral. But when you get up and you hold the higher ground, that's bullish right there. Okay, and price is doing the bullish behavior right now up there in quadrant 3, which happens to be in the upper third, price action up here in the upper third, anywhere up here in the upper third. Okay, that's bullish. Down here in the lower third, this is going to be bearish. Okay, down here in the lower third, that's bullish, and this is neutral in here. See them moving up, and they're holding that higher ground over that all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish for IWM. All right, so they're holding that higher ground. Not the prettiest of candles for today, but they're still holding that higher ground. Let's take a look at a few technicals. I like to look at T2122. Here's the first one here. So T2122 kind of just did what I said it was probably going to do, and not what I wanted it to do. Okay, I said it's probably going to meander back and forth after making the lower low here between the buyer's chop zone and the seller's chop zone. As you can see, we fell out of the buyer's chop zone, made an appearance inside the seller's chop zone, ended up the day in the buyer's chop zone, although you can see a series of lower highs right through here and a series of lower lows. Okay, it's a 15-minute chart, T2122. So winding up the day in the buyer's chop zone up there. All right, so looking for the bulls to kind of show up, or have they disappeared? Have they all gone fishing? Who knows? Okay, so there's T2122. Take a look at T2123, and did we make a new all-time high? Yes, new rally high for T2123 on the 15-minute chart. Again, you can see here's some lows. There's a higher low. There's a high. Well, there's a new rally high right there. That is a bullish uptrend right there. Okay, new rally high. Okay, it doesn't get much better than that. The only thing better than new rally high is new all-time high, okay? And price action is doing a lot of the right stuff here, okay? It's doing moving up and holding the higher ground. As you can see, here's price moving up, holding the higher ground, moving up, holding the higher ground, moving up, and then holding the higher ground, okay? That is a bullish environment. That is a bullish behavior. That is a bullish characteristic, okay? That is a show of strength, okay? When price moves up, all right, and holds that higher ground, okay? Like I said, that's like planking for 6.5 hours straight, okay? That's not easy to do, all right? That's what I'm saying. This is showing you the strength that it has by moving up and holding that higher ground, as opposed to moving up and giving it up. Okay, and they're capable of moving up and giving it up, but you can see here's price right here moving up and holding that higher ground, or that measurement of data for the cumulative 4-week new high, new low ratio. Okay, price action up over the rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. Again, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend and bullish and holding the higher ground. T2123. Okay, they run into a bit of consolidation from the chart on the left. Okay, so over here, okay, we have a low. We have already punched through that. Okay, we've got another low. We've already punched through that. Okay, and then we've got two highs. We've got one right here and one right there. Okay, I'm going to pull up the crosshairs, and you can see that's what price is dealing with right now. Okay, you can see those two peaks. That's what price is dealing with right now. Once we punch through these two highs, all that's left is the all-time high right here. Okay, that's it. There's nothing to stop us other than price itself. Okay, all we got left is the all-time high, and I think they're gonna go for a new all-time high before this rally is done. All right, we'll see what happens, but there's T2123. That's bullish. Here's a low, there's a low, higher low. There's a high, there's a high. There's a new rally high, so that's higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish and in an uptrend. It's over the hooking 200 SMA. That's the red line right here, and it's up over these two green lines. Those are prior all-time highs, and this is the all-time high right there. You can see we were way back here in April, all right, way down here, okay? Look how far we've come in May, June, July, all right? We've almost made it all the way back to the all-time highs, okay? You can see price action, okay? Notice here it goes up, and then it gives it up, okay? So that's neutral, but then it gives it up and more, so then it becomes bearish, all right? But even on the bearish side, they go down and they give it up, all right? So that makes it neutral, okay? But now we're making higher highs, so that makes us bullish, okay? See the higher high up there, okay? Got a low and a low. We're making higher lows and higher highs. So that's uptrend there on the 3-bar chart on T2123. Bullish and in an uptrend, T2123. Let's take a look at FNGU. And FNGU started out the day with the buying program, and then we started with, looks like they just kind of, they didn't really have a selling program. All right, all in all, I think they just filled the gap, and that wore them out, just filling the gap right there. You can see price, all right, is still up here and holding the higher ground, okay? You can see price moves up and then holds the higher ground here. Then we break out, and now we're holding the higher ground here. Okay, that is a bullish environment. We could have very easily jockeyed on down here and tested these lows, but we didn't. But they held up those highs way up there. Okay, so price action, that's bullish. That's a bullish behavior. Consolidation over prior consolidation. That's bullish up over the 200 SMA, that flat or rising 200 SMA, up over this all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Again, FNGU puts in a new all-time high right there, okay? It doesn't get any better than that, all right? New all-time high. Okay, so let's go take a look at a few sectors. Let's start off with XLE. All right, XLE, this is our energy. All right, XLE got a habit of, okay, just going to show you this. Okay, they got a habit of moving up and then giving it up. See this? Up, give it up. Okay, up, give it up. Okay, that pink line is the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, you notice they go up and they give it up. This time they gave it up and more. That was bearish. Okay, even when they go down, they give that up too. All right, so they're not in the lower third. This would be the lower third down here. Okay, because they're right here right now. Okay, and they're not in the upper third, okay, up here, because that would be bullish. This would be bearish, that would be bullish. So right now they're just kind of neutral, binging back and forth in between the bullish zone and the bearish zone right now. Okay, price action, all right, is up here banging on the door for the third time on this all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a nice move, showing you the W pattern along with some ascending lows right through here. This thing looks like it's ready to blast off. It's like winding up to take a rip to the upside. Okay, that's what it looks like to me. Okay, that's a really nice wind up here. You can see nice W pattern. All right, so we close the day for today. It's a nice close, by the way. It's up over downtrend line 1. You can see this. There's downtrend line 1. This is downtrend line 2. We're up over downtrend line 2. Okay, and we probably could make a downtrend line 3, moving this out here and then sliding this. So under downtrend line 3. So look for some spike into this area. We'll see what happens. Okay, so notice they're not in the upper third. Okay, not in the upper third, not in the lower third. All right, so they're just neutral right here. Okay, just neutral. They're in an uptrend because they're making higher lows and higher highs. See the higher lows right through here, and see the series of higher highs. That's even a higher high right there. Okay, so that's an uptrend, and they're up here and they're banging on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's pink line. Okay, so not in the lower third, so that makes them neutral and bullish, and they're in an uptrend. All right, they're not quite bullish yet, but they are getting there. They're acting bullish by moving up. The only thing that they're missing is a show of strength. Show me you can hold the higher ground. Okay, you can see several times they go up and they give it up. All right, maybe this time they'll get up and they'll hold for 3 weeks. Okay, because that's what you need to show me that you have some strength up there. Okay, because this right here, this is about, I'll call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 days there. So that's about 2.5 trading weeks right there. All right, so I'd like to see it hold up here for, about 20 days up on top of this all-time high anchored VWAP right now. Okay, it's struggling to do that. Every time it goes up, it gives it up. So there's XLE, still in an uptrend, but neutral. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG in the head and shoulders pattern, the bearish head and shoulders pattern. You got a triple top, 1, 2, 3, crown, that's your head. Okay, and then you've got a double shoulder right here, double top for a right shoulder, and then you've got a double top right here, see this one and this one, for a left shoulder, and this is the all-time low right here. Okay, and you can see price action has a neckline right through here. Okay, and you can see they came down, they broke the neckline here, and they came back to try to close back above it, and the bulls just wouldn't let them have it. Okay, or the bears wouldn't let them have it. Okay, it got up and then they gave it up. All right, so this is bearish down here in quadrant 1. All right, quadrant 1 is bearish. Quadrant 2 is neutral unless it's in the lower third right down here. That would be bearish. Okay, so UNG, this is bearish, and it's in a downtrend because we've got a series of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, you see there's a high, well there's a lower high, there's a lower high, there's a lower high, there's a lower high, and there's a lower high. Now we got the lows. Okay, so there's a low, there's low, there's 4 lows right there, and then each one of these is a lower low right here. Okay, lower lows. So we're in a downtrend right here, and it's looking like between the price action here underneath this neckline, looking like the right arm wants to extend down to where the left arm was, which is the all-time low. So looking like a re-challenge of the all-time lows down here. Let's take a look at GLD and SLV. Okay, so gold and silver. All right, trash that out. Again, price is doing the right stuff, okay? It's moving up, and it's holding that higher ground. That's bullish up there in quadrant 4, okay? Notice after the double top, they didn't leave the area. Notice after the triple top, 1, 2, 3, they didn't leave the area. Notice after the quad top, they still haven't left the area, okay? Usually you get a double top and price falls apart, breaks trend, and just, they're done, okay? Triple top, same thing. Normally, price falls apart, and they just give it up, okay? They're not giving it up here. Again, they're holding the higher ground up here in quadrant 4. This is bullish, okay? This is really bullish up here for price action on gold. It's in an uptrend because you got a series of higher lows right here, higher lows, and some higher highs. So you got a high there, got a high there, and you got 4 highs way up here. So that's an uptrend, hold the higher ground, and it's bullish up there in the top of quadrant 4. All right, let's take a peek at SLV. All right, here's SLV. Again, price action doing a lot of the right stuff. Okay, it goes up, and it holds, then it breaks out, and then it holds, and then it breaks out, okay? That's bullish right there. That is a bullish behavior. Look at the location. The location is up there near the 13-year high up there. Price action's up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Anytime you're in the upper third of the quad lines, okay, up there in quadrant 4, all right, that's bullish up there and in an uptrend, making a series. See the green dots? All right, higher lows and higher highs, and just recently, about 3 or 4 days ago, trading days ago, okay, made a 13-year new high right there. Not an all-time high, just a 13-year high right there. So that's bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at SMH. All right, look at SMH today. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. New all-time high. Okay? It doesn't get any better than that, all right? It just doesn't get any better than new all-time high on the semiconductors. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I believe there's an AI bubble coming, all right? And there's a lot of talk and a lot of use of AI that's just now in its infancy, all right? That in the future, there's going to be, we're using it more now than we ever have in the past. And let me just say, probably tomorrow, we'll be using it more tomorrow than we did yesterday. You remember that song, I love you more today than I did than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow? Well, that's the song, okay? We're using more and more, okay, AI today than we used yesterday, okay? But half as much as tomorrow, okay? You guys remember that song? Okay, well, that's where we're at with AI. And because of that, we're getting this AI bubble that's being blown up right now. It's actually being constructed. It hasn't popped yet, okay? I'm just saying, we are in the midst of an AI rally right now, okay? You look at the leaders, they are technology. Technology almost always leads us out of almost all of our recessions or into almost leads all of our rallies, okay, out of the lows, okay? So there's SMH. All right, let's take a look at XLK. Let me just say yesterday, XLK put in a new all-time high, and here we go again today, okay? You can't have semiconductors without technology because they're going to go into technology. All right, so there you go, XLK. New all-time high for XLK. Okay, that's bullish. See the green dots? Yeah, that's an uptrend. Okay, top of quadrant 4, uptrend. Okay, new all-time high. It's got to be in an uptrend if it's making a new all-time high. Doesn't really have to be, but I mean, unless it's like going down for, I don't know, 2,000 days in a row, it's just been melting, and then all of a sudden they get one big score, and they're up over all of the candles all 2,000 of the candles to the left. Okay, that rarely happens. Okay, I'm just going to say there's a good chance, there's a 99% chance if it's making a new all-time high that it's in a nice daily uptrend. So there's XLK. Let's take a look at XLF. All right, here's XLF. Hey, it's doing the right stuff, okay? Again, we're moving up and over to the right. That's bullish. Notice we're in the upper third up here, okay? Anywhere in the upper third, that's bullish. Lower third would be down here, okay? That would be bearish. This is bullish up here, okay? Then we're breaking out, make a higher low, make a higher high, okay? Right there. This is bullish up there to top of quadrant 4. That is bullish. Making higher lows. There's a low. There's a higher low. Okay. There's a high. There's a higher high. Okay. Consolidation over to the right. Make a higher high. Make a higher low. Make a new all-time high right there. A couple days ago. Yet today's candle, lower high, lower low. Closing underneath the bullish trap, but over the rising 17. See all the green dots? That's bullish. That's an uptrend right there, okay? Until we break this low, we're still in an uptrend, okay? And we're still bullish right there, okay? Up over the prior all-time high right there. That's the pink line right there. That's the prior all-time high for the financials. Okay, let's take a look at IYT. This is the last one. Hey, Robert. All right, IYT, price action, okay? It's still in the upper third, okay? See this? This would be the upper third, okay? Big red candle today, not liking that candle. That's a disappointing candle. This is in a downtrend, all right? Because we've got, see this low right here under the 17? Okay, now we've got a lower low under the 17, okay? So that's a downtrend. It wasn't an uptrend, all right? But because they broke that low, they're in a downtrend right now. Now they can negate this downtrend by rallying up here and taking out this high right there, and they will negate the downtrend, okay? It can be done, all right? They just have to decide they want to do it. So here's the transports today, kind of selling off, all right? And now in a downtrend, okay? They're still bullish because they're up here in the upper third, all right? Like I said, anytime you're in the upper third up here, this is the bullish zone, okay? Down here, this is the bearish zone. Okay, this is neutral. All right, anything in through here, neutral right there. Bullish, bearish, neutral. We're bullish, all right? And we just started a new daily downtrend, all right, for the transports by making a lower low. All right, you're up over that, still up over that all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. And we're still up in the upper third, okay? So that's bullish. All right, Robert said something about NVIDIA. Robert says, exit NVIDIA calls this morning for a gain. Awesome. Congratulations. He wants to re-enter those NVIDIA calls. Let's take a look. All right. He wants to get back into NVIDIA calls. Green erase is red, Robert. Anytime you see green erase red. All right, so you exited this morning at the highs, all right, and you pull back to the 3 EMA. If you get an opportunity and you pull back to support, I like to see support hold. So this would be minor support. Now it's not much, okay, minor support, because you measure it by the candles on either side, okay? And you notice you've only got 3 candles right here before it makes that low on that side, and you've got probably, let's just call it about 120 right here, okay, on that side, okay? So this is minor support. Like to see it pull back to minor support and J hook out of there, okay? So price action, you'd have to, for me, I would want to scoot down. All right. How about the next 10-minute uptrend over VWAP? All right. I mean, you sold up here. You could wait for it to hit support and then start the next 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. That's a possibility if you're interested in that. You notice hitting support right here. Wait for it to hit support. Or if you see a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP tomorrow, all right, and you can see that the trend is breaking away from VWAP. That would be interesting as a trade to enter into that one. Okay, so that's exactly what you did. Okay, I drew the same line for support. Yeah, hopefully you come down here and you J-hook off of here and you start a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. And of course, that would be the one. Okay, break of the rubber band candle on that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right there. You're welcome. All right, traders, that's it for me today. Okay, let me just say, the market is bullish. Okay, you've got all of the Fab Five are in daily uptrends. Okay, you've got technology is making new all-time highs. You've got semiconductors making new all-time highs. All right, you've got T2123, cumulative new 4-week new high, new low ratio. That is bullish right here. Look at this. Okay, new rally high for that. Every day they seem to be setting a new rally high for the cumulative 4-week new high low ratio. Okay. It's banging away, all right? The only thing that's disturbing right now, okay, financials are doing well, all right? We just made new all-time highs in those about 3 or 4 days ago. The only thing that's disturbing is the transports, okay? I looked at the economic data. That's looking good. The dollar's still in a downtrend, although it may have broke that downtrend today. We'll see what happens. All right, we'll take a peek at that tomorrow morning. The only thing that's disturbing is the transports kind of falling out of bed. All right, but if they can maintain that upper third, all right, we need the transports, that's the IYT, okay, to hang on to this upper third up here, okay? Get up there and hold that higher ground. Okay, notice this is the second time they come back here. All right, so they made a lower low, so they're now in a downtrend. But as long as they continue to consolidate over prior consolidation, they could be in a downtrend but still be bullish up here in the upper third. But they got to hold the upper third, okay, right there. Okay, so there's transports. That's the only outlier that's gumming up the game plan, okay, right there. Okay, you got a lot of things. Plus, we got new news coming out every day. We got the pipeline of economic news and tariffs and no tariffs and trade deals and all kinds of pipeline full of good news is coming out. You know, maybe we start to fund that big beautiful bill and we juice the economy that way. Because anytime you inject money into, you create a big beautiful bill. And then you fund it. You have to get, you can pass it in Washington, but now you have to take funds and send them out there to be allocated and spent. All right, so now we just need them to fund it so we can get those projects started. All right, and advance our country into forward motion. Keep moving forward. All right. Not that we weren't moving forward with Biden. I'm not playing any politics here. Okay, just want to keep moving forward. Okay, so there we are with IYT. Everything is looking good except for IYT. That's it. All right. Again, I like 10-minute uptrend over VWAP inside the 2-hour uptrend. Okay, I like the 2-hour inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend. That's my favorite trade. Okay, not to say that I won't trade an uptrend over VWAP just because it's not in the 2-hour. The 2 hours not in an uptrend. Okay, I'm just saying that's my favorite one. And right now we have rare opportunity where we have all of that working for us. Okay, we have the daily, the 2-hour, the weekly, and the monthly. Now, we don't have the 2-hour because we just lost it today. Okay, but it's very rare we have it all together at the same time. All right, now we got some Got some economic news coming out tomorrow. We got GDP, all right? And by the looks of the stats that I saw earlier today, I got to say I have high hopes for GDP. All right, let me pull those up so you can see that. All right. Okay, here's the trade balance. We've always have a negative trade balance, okay? All right? So we've cut our trade balance, okay? And the consensus was 90 billion, all right, to minus 90 billion to minus 130 billion, okay? And we've actually cut it down to, okay, we came in better than the range, minus 86 billion, okay? I don't know if we'll ever get this to be positive, okay? There's always been a trade imbalance. And I think we got some people up in Washington trying to fix that, okay? Now notice exports month over month, okay? Prior month was, we had minus 5.2%, okay? Now look at what we had. Minus not even 1%, minus just over 0.5%, okay, for exports, okay? I mean, that'd be nice if we could have a positive on the exports month over month. In other words, we're increasing a greater amount of exports every month, all right? That would be awesome. And because of that, I think GDP is going to be a rock and roll tomorrow, all right? I really think 8:30 is going to come around and that thing's going to be flying. We'll see, all right? I've been disappointed before, but that is some really good news, okay? In other words, we're consuming more of what we make and grow here in the USA instead of importing it, okay? So we've always had a trade imbalance, and look how it's moving in the right direction. That's improving, okay? Same with, you know, take this to mean we are exporting more, okay? See, we're having more exports, okay? And that's good for our economy, all right? Because it takes, you know, labor, all right, and materials from our country to put these goods and services together, all right, so that we have something to export. All right, so that's huge. That's great. All right, so I'm just sharing that, and GDP's tomorrow, and I expect those numbers to be fantastic. We'll see. All right, I've been disappointed before, and that's it for me for today. I'll see you guys all tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll do it again.